Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the True Story podcast, where we talk about life, following Jesus together, where we share our true stories, and of course, the ultimate true story of Jesus Christ.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of our True Story podcast. On today's episode, we have a really fabulous guest, another fabulous guest. I'm sure some of you, or most of you probably do know him. I'm not going to do a massive introduction, but welcome Simeon to our podcast. Thank you for taking the time just to chat to us. Before we get into the good stuff and the meat of the session, we want to play a quick game because we want to get to know you some more.
Fantastic.
So we're going to play a game. It's called a blind rank game.
Okay.
Do you know what a blind rank game is?
I'm not really.
Okay. So I'm going to give you the names of six different Bible characters.
Okay.
And you need to rank them from 1 to 6 on who you would most want to hang out with.
Okay.
Okay, number 1 being obviously the person you want to hang out with the most, and number 6, not so much. But the blind part is that you don't know who I'm going to say next.
Okay.
So you don't know who the next person is going to be. Okay, are you ready?
Go ahead.
Okay. The first one, classic, Moses.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. And then tell me why.
Okay. So Moses, he'd be maybe like a 3. Very keen to hear how he stayed so humble.
Funny. Okay. Number 2 is Job.
Job. Ooh. It's tricky because I feel sorry for him. So you want to put him on higher after all he's been through. Yeah, exactly. You've been through a lot. So I'll give him a 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just writing down so we remember. Okay, the next one is Eve.
Eve. I kind of, yeah. No, it's a 5.
Okay. Okay. Elijah.
Ooh, Elijah would be interesting to talk to because he's somewhat unhinged.
Yes.
So he's a 2.
He's crazy. Okay, Elijah's number 2. Okay, the next one is... Okay, so you only have number 1 and you only have number 6 left. Okay. David.
David would be a 6.
Ooh, shame.
Yes.
Why is David a 6?
I think it's because if I just look at the other 4,
okay,
he's very interesting. I'd love to hear him sing, but that's about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, the last one is Paul.
Okay, there we go. Number 1.
Dun dun dun.
What
Paul
did you mean here?
The winner.
Exactly.
Okay, cool, awesome. Before we get into the meat, can you introduce you to us? Introduce us to you. Introduce yourself.
Let me jump in right here. So, grew up in Johannesburg.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, that's why I'm so tough.
Mm-hmm.
So, grew up in Johannesburg from a young age. Loved the church. Loved speaking to friends about the Lord, which makes it sound like ooh. But I also went off track quite a few times. So the Lord has been very gracious to me, especially in the things that I believed. I think back sometimes about the chats I had with friends about church stuff during break time or at church. And I'm like, how did you believe that stuff? And then again, the Lord is just so gracious. In high school, part of the CSFIA. So that was fantastic. Really loved it. Because it was just a very welcoming group, and that's something I really appreciated about like Christian friends from a young age, was they tend to be very welcoming and accepting. Then went to Bible college afterwards because I really loved the Bible. Didn't really know what I would do afterwards, so that's not great advice. If you just love the Bible, it doesn't mean you should go study theology. But the Lord, again, very gracious. He definitely had a plan for me. Afterwards, I went into a Bible study ministry because I didn't think I would be a pastor or a missionary or a youth worker. I never felt called to those types of positions. But I really liked teaching and teaching the Bible specifically. So there was this Bible study ministry. The Lord just opened doors there. And I got the opportunity to meet with churches across not just this country, but in some other places in the world, which is fantastic.
Yeah,
very,
that's
very
cool.
I was there for quite a while, and the Lord just changed seasons. Got married there, well, not there, but at my time here. So I've got two amazing daughters, a beautiful wife, based here in Somerset West, and work for a remote job at this point, and just serve the church where I can.
Awesome. And it's so cool that you brought up the Bible ministry stuff that you do, because I don't actually even know if you know this, but we now have an online platform. Yes, we're modern. We used to have like a legitimate box, like a question box,
yes.
and her name was Bertha. Bertha, if you are Afrikaans. Bertha the box. Bertha got lost a couple of times, so we decided to modernize her a little bit, and she's now an online platform, a Google form. And it's just a space, and this is something that we really wanted to create with the youth, which I think is important not only for teenagers, but I think for any Christian, just a safe space to ask questions, because sometimes the Bible feels overwhelming. Yeah. And like you don't know what you're reading, and you know that that's the primary way God speaks to us, but you're like, I don't even know what it's saying. Fair. So it's just a space where we wanted to create for the teenagers to ask questions that they might not want to ask their parents. And a lot of the questions lately, they have asked, like when Bertha was a physical box, but a lot of the online questions have also been about sharing the gospel and speaking to your friends who don't believe in God. And we know that you're passionate about that. And that's why we asked you to come and just chat to us a bit about what does it mean to actually share the gospel with your friends? What does it look like? What is apologetics, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the first question I want to ask you, which I think is an important distinction to make, is what is the difference between evangelism and apologetics?
That's a very good question. So evangelism, the core idea is the going out and sharing my faith with others. So evangelism, from the Greek, evangelion, the good news. So you're just sharing good news with those around you. What is the good news that you believe? Well, for Christians, generally it is that we've been saved. I'm now part of God's family. I've got this new identity. And when I have opportunity, and when I make opportunity, I share that with others. So that's, I think, one of the core ideas behind evangelism, whereas apologetics is this defense of the faith. It's do I have the reasoning behind why I believe what I believe? Does it make sense to me? Am I able to articulate it to others? And if someone has a question about something, can I share meaningfully on that topic? So I think that's one of the core distinctions between the two.
And do you think people can evangelize without participating in apologetics?
Yes, definitely. I think, again, sharing of the good news is like you watching a fantastic movie and you're going to someone afterwards and be like, this movie blew my mind. It was amazing. So there's like this heart aspect to it as well, where you're just really sharing this impactful event that happened to you. Whereas apologetics would be someone coming to you and saying, that movie really sucked. I don't understand it. Like, why do you like it? And you're going, okay, well, there was this part in it, and I liked how they drew these conclusions, and they really came in with, like, the hook was amazing. And because I've studied a bit of cinema, I understand why. So it's a bit more of a reasoned explanation of why you believe what you believe.
That's a really good description, because I think a lot of times people feel like they don't know a lot of stuff and therefore they can't evangelize. Again, this isn't a question just for our teenage generation. I think it's a question that can be addressed to literally everyone. But why do you think that it's so difficult for us to actually evangelize and to share about Jesus? You know, we come here to church on a Sunday and we say, like, this is the foundation of our life, like this is what we build our lives on, Jesus is our everything, but yet we find it so difficult to actually speak to other people about Jesus.
Very, very prominent issue, and I think it's been an issue throughout basically every generation.
Yeah.
And I do think that it might be a muddying between the distinction between evangelism and apologetics, where apologetics is this intellectual understanding of what I believe. And sometimes people think that I really need to know the Bible inside out for me to be able to share the gospel. Whereas, again, if you have a major life event happening to you, it's a family members, or you, like someone's pregnant and they come to you and they're like, oh, pregnant. Like they don't necessarily know the ins and outs of like what the biology or what's going on inside of them.
Yeah.
But they're so overjoyed because
Yeah.
this major life event, and I'm able to just share it, and it's changing the way that I live. I have to make different decisions now. It's just very natural as to, okay, well, this has happened and I now need to live differently, and I'm sharing that with you, and there's a joy to it. Whereas I think we think if I'm not able to articulate perfectly the science behind it, then maybe I don't really believe it. And there's an aspect of doubt that then might creep in because I don't have every answer. I just simply don't. And if I'm sharing with someone, maybe they are going to start poking and prodding, and do I understand how this book and this book relate, or what does the Bible really say about this topic? And I'm just not that knowledgeable enough, so it must mean that there's a deficiency in the event, but that's not how it works. Like the event happened, and I'm able to share it. Me figuring out how the event happened and what led up to it, and these types of aspects, I think that's a different topic, different discussion. It touches on different aspects of us completely. So if we're able to separate those two to a degree, I think that frees us up to really just be like, this and this thing happened to me.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And it's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's changed my life, and I'm not sure how it works.
Yeah.
There are aspects of it that just don't make sense to me yet. Maybe they never will, and that's also okay.
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes you are going to get into a situation where you have really deep discussions about faith and what you believe, and you just prep differently for them as well.
I think two thoughts while you were speaking. I think the one thing for me is that, like with what you were saying about how evangelism is just like that overflow of like that joyous occasion, or like, you know, something that's in your heart. And I think that overflows from that living relationship with Jesus. If you're reading God's word and you're speaking to Jesus and you have this living relationship with Jesus, it's just like from that overflow of like being with him and spending time with him that you want to tell other people. But also like that, what you say about the pressure, that it really does free you up if you know that you don't. And I feel like there's also something freeing about saying to someone, I don't actually know the answer to that. That's a really good question. Like, let me go and research more. Let me go ask people. Like, I don't know the answer. And I think that's also really refreshing for other people. Like, a lot of the times, I think when it comes to apologetics or even just like debates in religion, like people get really defensive and it's like, I have to know this. But to almost come with like, actually, that's a good question. I don't know. I know Jesus is real because I can testify to him in my life and the changes that he's made in my life. But I don't know the answer to your question, but let me go and research and I can come back to you. And I think people don't know that you can actually do that. You know, they think that you need to have every single answer to every single question somebody's going to ask. But that's not necessarily true. And I think one of the other things that really holds people back from sharing the gospel, and it's 100% held me back, like most of my life, is the excuse of my personality. Because I don't do small talk. I don't like walking up to strangers and saying hello. Like, I just don't like doing it. It's really out of my comfort zone to do that. But do you think that's a valid reason to not share the gospel?
I don't. I think sharing the gospel, you've got, I think, these different levels almost. You've got those people that are uniquely gifted to go out and share on a stage. And they go out and they gather people around them and they share. And that's a smaller amount of people, I think, than what we try to argue. Like, other people have this gift of evangelism. I'm just, like you said, it's a personality thing. I don't like talking to people about very deep things. And I think that's an aspect as well, because it's so deep and personal. Yeah, true. And I might have doubts. Maybe that surfaces while I talk, where they ask a question and I don't know, so I'm on the defensive, and I don't want to get into that situation. But evangelism in the general sense, where every Christian to a degree is commanded to evangelize, it is the sharing of the faith. It's the day-to-day talking about, oh, I made this decision. Oh yes, I remember I had these two options. I really prayed about it, and I really felt the Lord lead me to this. Or I read the Bible and it made it quite clear that I shouldn't be doing this, or I should be doing this. So it's this discussion about the faith that's happening with people around you. And it doesn't have to be this, do you now believe in Jesus after I told you about Jesus? It just, this is how I think about things. This is my framework, and I'm just kind of talking about how things make sense to me, why I make certain decisions, why I stopped doing certain things. And that in and of itself is an evangelistic tool. You can do it at school. I do it at work. I'm in a secular environment, and I've had opportunities, not outright me preaching the gospel to my coworkers, but if they ask me, like, what did you do this weekend? I'm like, oh, yeah, Saturday, time with the friends, Sunday church, which was really impactful for us. And then we just rested very well. And there's a very small seed that you plant. And when someone speaks about what is your drive in life, I had the opportunity once as well, and it was in a Teams meeting setting with a whole team. Like, actually, Jesus really made a big impact for me. So that's why I make a lot of the decisions that I make, and then moved on to the next person. It wasn't this wow evangelistic moment. It was just a really honest answer. And I think that's what we need to start doing more of, just honestly speaking. If Jesus has made a difference in your life, and you get to a point where you're in conversation with someone and it touches on that topic, just say, actually, I've wanted to do this more because I was saved, and I really started feeling a bit more drawn to this. Or I didn't want to do this anymore because I really understand sin now, and I know that Jesus doesn't like this, so I know I shouldn't like it. And you can talk about struggles there as well, because we're not perfect, and we're trying to figure things out. And I think the more honest we are with ourselves and then with those around us, the more this naturally just becomes a part of our conversation.
Yeah, and it really does sound more freeing to me that it's not like, I mean, and I think we do have moments, even as a church, where, you know, we specifically go out on the streets and we pray for people and we share the gospel. And I even feel like that's also different to our day-to-day, just sharing the faith with the people around us, which is also evangelism. Because sometimes it does feel overwhelming, particularly for people who don't enjoy like just bearing their souls in front of everyone. But it feels a little bit more like doable when it's just like, actually just testify to the daily things of like, be honest about who you are. I remember at work, I also work in a very secular environment, and I think it was like literally like my first day, or like within like the first week of me starting the job, my boss said to me, oh, are you also a church girl? And it was literally like a split second where I needed to make a decision and be like, am I going to say yes, that's who I am, or am I going to say no and walk away awkwardly? And I was like, yeah, I am a church, I'm a church girl. And, you know, if you want to engage me more on it, you can ask me questions.
Exactly.
So I think it's just being more honest about who we are, and what we believe, just even in our like immediate environment to people. And I think that gives us the confidence that when people do come and ask us questions, because we've been honest and we've been sharing, we're like, oh yeah, this is actually what I believe, you know. I've also heard people say that they don't have the temperament. You know, you get people who are like, they like studying and they're like academic work, and there's other people who don't like being academic, and they would say, oh, I don't have the temperament to study the Bible, and therefore I can't engage people on it. What do you think about that?
I think the fact is that there is a general commandment for every Christian to know the Lord, which just makes sense. If you're in a relationship with someone, knowing them is the best way to like get life out of that relationship. And regardless of the relationship, whether it's friends, family, even with coworkers, people at school, if you really want an engaging relationship with someone, there's going to be a time where you're going to have to invest in. Tell me a bit about this. Where did you grow up? Why did this happen to you? Or tell me about your day. What did you do last week? So you're getting information from that person that builds the relationship. So that is integral to the relationship that we have with God as well. It's God, how do you think? What do you want me to do in this scenario? And to really then fully get the most out of that, we need to go to God and say, well, teach me. We've been given the Holy Spirit who teaches us truth through the Word. So we have to be able to engage with the Word and do it regularly to really get the most out of this relationship, to give ourselves in ways that are pleasing to God, and then to be encouraged by God, to be comforted by God very often, or just simply get direction from God. How should I make this decision? Okay, your Word tells me. Let me spend some time. This is a meaningful relationship. Because it's meaningful, I'm going to invest, which means I'm going to set aside time, because meaningful things don't just happen. It's a putting aside time for that. And that's I think, the attitude with which we can come. It's not I'm going to understand the Greek and the Hebrew and the history behind it. That's not necessary. If you want to, fantastic. But the way that God works is through His Word. And if we're just diligent and humble and receptive to it, then He can do great things with a few words. Ideally, we want to get to the point where it's just like a lot and a lot and a lot, and this is like a meal that I'm feasting on. It's just so good, but that's just not the reality day to day.
So for the teenagers that are listening, how much do we need to know about the Bible to actually share the gospel? Do you think that God can use someone who's still learning and getting to know the Bible, or
it's fascinating. So you have, even within the Bible, you've got the story with Jesus and the woman at the well, and there's this interaction, and she knows not just very little about Jesus, but she also is from somewhat a different type of religion. So a lot of mixed things happen there with the Samaritans and the way that they actually view God. So she's got this interaction with Jesus and runs off and goes and tells people about Jesus. Jesus didn't spend a lot of time correcting her theology, which is very interesting.
Very interesting.
She just, out of passion, I've had this interaction with Jesus, let me go tell others, runs off, starts telling them, they go to Jesus, and after a while they're like, okay, well, we now know about Jesus, so you don't have to tell us anymore. Which just shows you that the impact that Jesus has initially is worth sharing. And then the growing depth of that relationship just becomes more worth sharing. So whatever stage you're at, you can share. You don't have to first go to Bible school or first have read one of the books of the Bible. It can simply be, I've realized the gospel, that I am a sinner. Jesus Christ saved me by grace. He gave me His righteousness. He died for me on the cross. I am now justified, made right before God, and now I'm part of His family, and I can share that. And I don't have to first be baptized or first go to catechism or first go to Bible school. That's enough to actually share with other people and then be impacted by it as well. I think that's the amazing thing of the gospel. When you get to the book of Romans, the gospel is what saves. It's not you and your knowledge and the depth of your knowledge that saves. It's the gospel that saves. And Paul front loads Romans with that, and then 16 chapters later he's just unpacking it. But it's that initial message that he's saying that's what saves. And you can start getting into the depths afterwards.
Okay, I want to quickly go to the questions that the teenagers asked. I think we're only going to have time for one question.
Sure.
And I think I want to ask this one. Okay, so this is one of the questions that the teenagers asked. How can you respectfully debate with other religions?
Very good question. One of the tools that you make use of is questions. You ask meaningful questions, not to catch them out, but very often just to really understand, what do you believe? How do you understand this? Because this is how I see it. And I've found that in a lot of engagements that I've had with people from other religions or from different parts of Christianity, whatever the disagreement is, it's first, I'd like to understand what you think. How do you understand this? Because that lowers the walls. they understand, and you should do this, that you're not trying to catch them out or trying to put them on the spot. You're really interested in, like, why do you believe this? What is it about this that you believe? And once they feel heard and you can actually verbalize, oh, I didn't know you believed it like this, this, and this. I see it like this, this, and this. What do you think about that? So that's a dialogue that's happening versus what we think debating is, I've got 20 or 5 points and I'm going to prove you wrong and win this argument.
Yeah.
I've watched debate after debate, and when they're concluded, the other side never goes, you have completely convinced me, I'm now going to convert. That's just not, it's usually through a relationship that this happens, and asking questions meaningfully, engagingly, wanting to know more is what starts those relationships and can sustain them to a point where you can really share and they understand this person is not just trying to catch me out, they're really interested in me and what I believe. So I'm actually going to pay a bit more attention to what they're saying, and that's very, very helpful within evangelism and apologetics.
And I think that also, like, for the person going in, like from the Christian person going in with the perspective of, I'm not here to catch the person out, I actually want to, like the humility of, I actually want to know what you think. So to not go in like aggressively, like these are my 5 points, or even defensively, you know, if somebody comes to you, is to, like I think people want to be heard regardless of what they believe. They want to know that they're being heard. Okay, last question before we end off. It's actually a question, so this isn't a question that one of the teenagers asked, but just from your perspective of having done a lot of like Bible ministry, a lot of the teenagers ask, like, how do we like learn to read the Bible? Like, where do we even start? And the question that I want to ask you, like, where, in terms of resources, if you can give advice to teenagers on where should they go to get help to find like how to read the Bible, and where should they not go? Because that's also a very important question.
That's a good question. Okay, so I've got a handful of resources that I like going to. Some of them are reputable, like Bible scholars. Some of them are pure resources. So like the Bible Project is one of them. That's a great way to understand each book of the Bible. Very, very helpful. Then you have people like Wes Huff, especially if you like the apologetic side. I've listened to him recently, and he's just fantastic with explaining this is the defense of our faith, and it's meaningful and it's rational. Mike Winger as well, great Bible teacher. So those are and Gavin Ortland for those difficult type of Bible questions that you might have and really wrestle with. He really unpacks those quite nicely. So those are some meaningful resources. And then what you should stay away from are short snippets of Christians saying things. And even someone starting off a video with, this blew my mind when I learned this. Very often it's over-exaggerated and there's maybe a bit of truth. But generally TikTok, Instagram, influencers, if you have one that you're listening to, just come to the Christian leader here and say, I've been listening to this person. What do you think? Don't just accept everything. Good advice. Because then you might start going down difficult paths. Yeah, very good advice. I think what we can maybe do is we can get some links, and we'll post the links in the description of the video just for easy access. But that is the end of our convo. Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. We really, really appreciate your wisdom and your knowledge and just all of the things. Love the chat. Okay, guys, that is the end of our episode. We will see you next time. Okay, bye.